Hello, welcome to The Curious Head. Subscribe now and leave a like. Few things are considered worse than cheating, and we're not talking about porn in relationships, although that's also bad. In many legislations, treason committed against the state constitutes one of the highest crimes, with punishments that can even lead to the death penalty. When we look into the past, we find many cases of traitors who acted against their own nations. With different motivations, the names that make up this list are certainly part of the most famous in history, and depending on who analyzes it, the most naughty. Get to know who they are and what their betrayals were. 1. Lord George Gordon. Despite the similar name, do not confuse the author George Gordon Byron, the Lord Byron, with the traitor George Gordon. Of Scottish origin, the nobleman Gordon was a member of the House of Commons in the United Kingdom. At the end of the 18th century, he was accused of treason for inciting the London riots of 1780. What George Gordon did was lie to colleagues in the Protestant Association, of which he was a member, that he would fight for the repeal of the Papists Act, 1778, which had restored civil rights to Catholics who swore allegiance to the king. It turns out that a mob was dissatisfied with the slowness of the process and, for 6 days, looted the British capital. Accused of treason, he even managed to convince the jury not to convict him, but he was ostracized. 2. Yoon-Hee. Yoon-Hee is a famous case of a traitor who was actually later pardoned as it was realized that his conviction was a mistake. During the Korean War, Hong, then a sergeant in the South Korean army, was removed from his troops when the bridge that connected the conflicting territories was destroyed. In order not to die, he pretended to be a relative of a North Korean politician, joining the opposing army. After being ordered to kill compatriots in an offensive, he defected, crossed into South Korea and told everything he knew. At that time, he was tortured, tried and sentenced to death for treason. Luckily, his lawyer was able to convert his conviction to life in prison. Years later, a U.S. military document proved that everything Hong said was true, and his conviction was overturned. 3. Pervez Musharraf. Pakistan's last military ruler, Pervez Musharraf stayed in power for 9 years after a coup. When he was removed from power, a sense of justice took over part of the population and the judiciary. Musharraf was convicted of treason and his sentence said he should be dragged through the streets of the Pakistani capital. The former president's luck is that he managed to escape in time to the United Arab Emirates, where he resides to this day while trying to reverse his conviction. For Aaron Burr was a soldier and politician of relative prestige in the beginning of the United States as an independent country. However, her career came to an end after an accusation of treason. In 1807, when he was vice president, Burr was accused by General James Wilkinson of trying to get help from the United Kingdom and Spain to create a new country comprising the territories of Mexico and part of the southwestern United States. The event, which became known as the Burr Conspiracy, led the politician to prison, being saved from death because the president of the court considered that there was a lack of evidence for his conviction. However, his political life was shattered. He died as a result of problems caused by a stroke. 5. Rudolf Augstein. In addition to being a politician, the German Rudolf Augstein was a journalist and editor of one of the most prestigious publications in his country, Der Spiegel. In 1962, he was arrested on suspicion of treason, accused of publishing an article on possible German military weaknesses. The event became known as the Spiegel Affair, and it was a real scandal. Augstein, the journalist who wrote the report, Konrad Ehlers, and Colonel Alfred Martin, a member of the Ministry of Defense, supposedly the source of the story, were arrested and accused of treason. However, a decision by the country's high court meant that they were never tried. German Defense Minister Franz Josef Strauss was accused of abuse of office but was not convicted. The court's justification is that he was led to think he was acting lawfully. Until the next video with more curiosities.